To Arts Weekly on 3MBS will know the name Kate Herbert, one of Melbourne's best-known theatre reviewers, who shares her wisdom every fortnight on that program. But there's much more to Kate than just being a reviewer. She's also an established playwright and director, and coming up soon is a staged reading of her latest play, Lungs, at La Mama Theatre on Saturday the 28th of October. Julie Horton is finding out all about it from Kate Herbert.
Kate, I'm intrigued by the concept of a radio play in the 21st century, so tell me all about Lung.
Well, it is, as you say, a radio play, although I'm doing a staged version of it at a staged reading followed by a performance staged next year at La Mama, but it was written and will remain a radio play in concept. So I wrote it on a commission for the Seniors Festival. So although it was commissioned and bought by them, it hasn't been made. So I made the decision to work with the same concept of voices and creating a soundscape, a landscape of words and sounds, but do it on stage. So that's why I'm experimenting with it for a reading. I do love radio plays. I've written several in the past. They were made by Radio National, and I listen to them regularly. A number of shows in the Fringe at the moment are audio, and one of them is billed as a radio play. So I've listened to those as well. And you can listen to them while you're walking around, going for a walk in the park or sitting at home. I love that. And I think there's a whole new audience for listening. We have podcasts, we have storytelling, we have all sorts of things. And I think the radio play has a place in this 21st century.
And people like Don McKay has been doing it for years as the resetting of radio plays from the 30s staged in a theatre. So there certainly is an audience there. So what's the story of Lung?
It's a play about a woman awaiting a lung transplant. So it sounds like a dark and grim concept, which of course it is, because, it's a terminal illness leads to a lung transplant, clearly. But I've tried to find what my friend in San Francisco, she said to me that her father used to say, he was a writer for Kelly, you need to include butt shifters. And I said, tell me, what does that mean? And she said, it's when an audience in a moment of drama sees a shift to a lighter moment and they shift their bottoms on the seat. So they're known as butt shifters. So I've tried to include those lighter moments in the play. Anna is the character, and she is accompanied by her lungs, played by an actor. The lungs that are failing at the moment. They're valiant, cheerful, and her constant companion. So she's living with a serious lung disease, and these lungs are the embodiment of that lung disease. They, as a pair, with grim determination and, I have to say, moments of humour, contend with this daily struggle to survive on the waiting list. Now, being on a waiting list for a lung transplant is far worse than being on a waiting line for help on a telephone or something. It can take 4 months, it can take 2 years, but awaiting a call from the transplant team to inform her that she has an organ match is what this narrative is about. So it starts with her talking about, this is how I imagine my voice to be. So the voice that she addresses to the audience is her full voice, but the voice that we hear when she's talking to doctors or her partner is actually that breathy, trying to find a way to get the words out sort of voice. That's how I hear it in my head. She's with her lungs, with her partner, Dave, and her mother, Jan, and she's facing challenges and setbacks and a parade of respiratory specialists and, of course, the transplant team, who are another kind of surgery. So it shifts from over about 4 years. I give a timeline, so it's clear, I hope, when it's happening.
It sounds absolutely fascinating, and I think you're so right. You need those humour moments breaking up the drama, and then it all works as a perfect whole.
I think it's essential with something as dark as, something that is terminal. She's in fear of her life, and people around her are as well. And it's, in the first version, I had really just Anna or woman, I called her, and the lungs. And it was essentially a self-narration, and it was very, very heavy going. I was writing a play that was going to be cheap to make because it would have 2 actors, and I thought, not doing that anymore. I think I can do it with 5, with a couple of double casting, multiple roles. As I said, I've got dates in May next year, so the reading is actually end of October, but the dates for the season are in May, 6th to 19th of May next year at La Mama. I hope in the reading I'll be able to explore and see what people feel about it being a staged reading. I want it to focus on the characters, the voices, the experience of this rather than a physicalised staging, even though there'll be obviously actors in the space. I want them moving in and out of the space and perhaps doing all the soundscape, or at least part of the soundscape, with their own voices and breath, etc., which is what I'm experimenting with in the reading.
Julie Horton was chatting with Kate Herbert about her new staged reading of her latest play, Lungs. It's all happening at La Mama Theatre, 205 Faraday Street, Carlton, on Saturday, October the 28th. That's next Saturday at 2 p.m. And you can book at lamama.com.au.